Hey everybody, this is Ozark Pepper One. It's August the 24th, and today let's talk about something else. Here we go. Okay, let's title this one, What If? What if you decide, I'm just gonna trust the plan, and you don't prepare because you think the plan is gonna work out fine and dandy, and you're 100% sure that's the way it's gonna go. And then we get to a point where, uh-oh, the markets crash, the stores are empty, there's no place to buy fuel, you can't even go anywhere if you wanted to buy something, or you don't have cash on hand, and if you do, they don't accept it, and you did not prepare all this time, the past 10, 15 years, the grace period we had, and you walk into a store, it's bare, you see all these things around you, and then you start seeing people in your neighborhood that did the same, and for a while, depending on where you live, things will be relatively calm. In about 3 weeks, when each of those neighbors have all begged from each other and ate every last can of spaghetti sauce, the blood will turn cold, and they will be the same as a drug addict that steals for their addiction. Only they will justify what they're doing. They will think that if you have it and they don't, they're entitled to it because they're hungry, and you got to feed those people, according to them. And it's that primal stage that a human gets at when they have no food. And right now, what I see in people that's been laid off from factories and people laid off from really good jobs, they were used to making, you know, 70, 80,000 a year in the country, or not even in the country, in the suburbs of America, all the little, and you had two people making that kind of income in the house. I don't know where people's wives and stuff work up there, but a lot of them are nurses and a lot of them are in the medical field. But some of those even lost their job, and the ones that didn't, they have to fund a home that, when purchased, was based on two salaries at that much. So when the one spouse, when their income stops and they finally exhaust all of their savings and their benefits, then that puts the full burden on the other spouse that makes half of what the other, the two together made. So then they have to make that payment, feed their kids, pay their insurance. They have to buy the food for the household, just all those little things. And when that happens, a lot of times, if it's the female that's left doing that, that gets to their head, and they start thinking like they're being taken advantage of, when in reality, there's not much out there, especially for the older crowd, and I don't mean older, I mean over 35, 35, 40, start getting in those years, and companies start looking at you as a liability more than an asset, regardless of how well you do your job and how safe you are and whatever. They look at you as a possible health liability, as you know, you could get hurt or you'll be sick all the time, going to the doctor, and so they just don't hire people like that. Some do, just to make it look good. They'll hire a few of them. For the most part, they say we're still looking for other candidates right now. That's a common theme. But if you didn't prepare before the storm hits, you know, and storm could be anything, by putting your faith in what you read and then not preparing is kind of a foolish idea. You can still believe that something's going to happen a certain way, or someone's coming to fix everything, but preparing does not mean you don't believe those things. You don't have to stop believing those things. You can still prepare and be ready and just put it in the back of your mind, well, if I'm going to get picked up and took away from here, then whoever's left can have my food and supplies and things. And those won't last forever either. That's not the idea. The idea is to make it through a chaotic period in time until you're at the other side of it and things are better. Things may never get better in our lifetime, but you'll have a little peace of mind. Because hunger is not a fun experience. Anybody that's ever worked a long day and or been so busy they haven't ate in a day or two, you know that feeling. Imagine that by a week, 2 weeks, and then by a month. And your body starts to eat itself, and then you start getting delusional. You know, you start thinking different. You know, there's people that go through relationship issues. They get divorced or something, and you'll see one of the two that's really devastated by it. Sometimes they won't eat, and they'll get sick looking sometimes, and that's a different thing there, because the brain is in a different state of mind. It's not hungry. It's not wanting to go. You know, those people have gave up is when they're like that. But when you are like that, because you are hungry and you have plans and you have a future, and it's all took from you, you know, and you don't have that what do you call it? Source of nutrition, then it becomes more of a pain. You know, you actually feel, for some reason, that's the way it works. The brain says that the stomach sends a signal and says, hey, we're hurting down here. We need some food put in this place. And if it doesn't get it, then the brain goes into full coke addict mode. And you'll rob and steal and do whatever you can. And now imagine millions of people like that. If you have that many people in panic mode, how much utter destruction would that be? And you'll have people that have racial preferences. They will be so hateful towards another race. You see it already. And I don't think it's Whitey this time. But I'm sure there will be. There might be a few like that. But what you see right now happening is people are like that. They starved them out for the past 10 years. And then they point the finger at Whitey and say it's Whitey's fault. The news did this. And I'm not going to say, I'll take you to the root of the problem. Just go and find out who owns the news. Those are the people who cause the division. Those are the ones who tell every news station to repeat what they say, and that's why you have 500 news stations saying the same thing, word for word. But that's who causes the division. they tell Blackie to hate Whitey, and they tell Whitey to hate Blackie. And they tell any other culture, they'll tell the Latino to hate this person, the Asian to hate this person, or blame this on the Asian, or blame this on the Latino. And it's the media that does that. And the people who own the media are the same people who owned the merchant ships who brought slaves over here in the 1600s. Just research this stuff. Don't take my word for it. And don't go to the Google area. Go to DuckDuckGo and research it there. And you'll see everything's a big scam. And whenever I say people, I don't mean one entire group of people. It's a handful of people in one group. And they're pretty sick. They do a lot of gross things. They're parasitical. They don't produce anything. They don't labor. And that's pretty much the cause of everything. Because we could have educated our people years ago. We could have educated people, real education, not arts and stupid shit that people do out in the West Coast and New York City and places like that. Real education. Science education of something like Tesla would have done. And I don't mean Tesla of today, I mean Tesla of the past, of the 1920s, from 1900 to 1920, however long he was around. That guy was innovative, making awesome things that make our life better. But instead, the powers that be that run our world knew, the United States population during the Great Depression was 50 million. That was it. Why on earth did we let it balloon up to 360 million here? And why did China let theirs balloon up to 1.6 billion or however many people they have? Why did India let theirs do the same? You knew this. You knew that this would be a problem. You take a bowl, a fish bowl, and you feed a pinch of food to the fish every day. And add a fish to that bowl every day and see what happens. But only feed the same amount of food. That's what's happening on the earth. That's what's been happening. And these sick fucks who run everything think that they'll just thin the herd in a brutal fashion. Let us slaughter each other. They think that, they can collect off the spoils of a war between peoples that they created. And that the spoils of the war are our children. That's what they want. When you have a war, you have orphans. And that's what they go after. And that's the cold hard truth. Nobody talks about. Not on mainstream. You can find it. You gotta search far and wide. Like I said, don't use the main search engines. Use DuckDuckGo. You'll find stuff there. And one of these days they may try to take that away from us. Because the truth, you're not going to find the truth anywhere that everybody goes. You're going to have to always take a narrow path to find it. Anyway, that was a deep thought for tonight. And I'm going to call it a night. And this video will probably pop up sometime in the morning, depending on how fast my signal is out here. And you all have a great rest of your week. Ozark Prepper 1 out.